Tariffs are taxes placed on goods that are brought into a country from abroad. These taxes are typically added to the price of imported products, making them more expensive for consumers and businesses to purchase. Tariffs have been used for centuries as a tool for governments to influence trade, protect local industries, and generate revenue for public spending. Governments use tariffs to regulate the flow of goods across their borders. By imposing tariffs, they can control which products enter the country, and at what cost, shaping the nation's economic landscape and trade relationships. When foreign products become more expensive due to tariffs, consumers are more likely to choose locally made alternatives. This shift in consumer behavior helps protect domestic industries from foreign competition, allowing them to grow and create jobs. At the same time, the government collects additional revenue from these taxes, which can be used to fund public services and infrastructure. However, tariffs can also have unintended consequences. When one country imposes tariffs, its trading partners may retaliate by introducing their own tariffs, leading to what is known as a trade war. These escalating measures can strain international relationships and disrupt global supply chains, making it harder for businesses to operate smoothly. For example, if the United States imposes a tariff on imported steel, the price of foreign steel rises. This can benefit American steel producers by making their products more competitive, but it also means that companies relying on steel, like car manufacturers or construction firms, face higher costs, which may be passed on to consumers in the form of increased prices. The impact of tariffs extends far beyond just the price tags in stores. They can influence everything from the cost of everyday goods to the stability of international alliances. Tariffs can also affect the availability of certain products, sometimes leading to shortages or delays. While tariffs can provide a safety net for emerging industries, giving them time to develop and compete, they can also make it harder for businesses to access the materials and components they need at affordable prices. The threat of retaliation is always present. When countries respond to tariffs with their own trade barriers, it can escalate into prolonged disputes, affecting global markets and causing uncertainty for investors and businesses alike. In this way, tariffs act as a double-edged sword. They offer protection and revenue for governments, but they also carry the risk of economic fallout, higher prices, and strained international relations. Understanding how tariffs work is essential to making sense of recent events, such as the Supreme Court's decision to overturn tariffs imposed by former President Trump. This legal move has significant implications for trade policy and the broader economy. The Supreme Court's ruling has sent ripples through the global market, creating both opportunities and challenges for businesses and consumers. Companies that rely on imported goods may see costs decrease, while domestic producers could face renewed competition. In the chapters ahead, we'll break down how tariffs function, explore their impact on the economy, and explain why the Supreme Court's decision matters for everyone, from business owners to everyday shoppers. Former President Donald Trump introduced a series of tariffs during his administration, aiming to boost American industries and protect domestic jobs. These tariffs, which are essentially taxes on imported goods, were designed to make foreign products more expensive and less attractive to U.S. consumers and businesses. By doing so, Trump hoped to encourage Americans to buy more products made in the United States, supporting local manufacturers and workers. The administration argued that these measures would make U.S. products more competitive both at home and abroad, giving American companies a better chance to thrive in a global market that often favors cheaper imports. Trump specifically targeted sectors like steel and aluminum, which he said had been hurt by years of unfair trade practices, especially from countries like China. He argued that imposing tariffs would protect American jobs, revitalize struggling industries, and help address the persistent U.S. trade deficit. Beyond economics, Trump framed tariffs as a matter of national security, insisting that a strong manufacturing base was essential for the country's independence and safety. He used tariffs as leverage in trade negotiations, hoping to pressure other countries into making more favorable deals for the United States and reduce reliance on foreign goods. However, critics quickly pointed out the potential downsides. Many warned that tariffs would lead to higher prices for everyday goods, as companies passed increased costs onto consumers. Small businesses in particular could struggle to absorb these costs, potentially leading to closures and job losses. Economists also cautioned that tariffs could spark retaliatory measures from other countries, resulting in trade wars that might hurt American exporters. They argued that such policies marked a significant departure from decades of free trade, which had been a cornerstone of U.S. economic policy. The The move ignited a heated national and international debate, with some supporting protectionism as a way to safeguard American interests, while others championed globalization and open markets as the path to prosperity. Ultimately, Trump's tariffs marked a significant and controversial shift in American trade policy, the effects of which continue to be debated by policymakers, economists, and everyday Americans alike. The legal battle over Trump's tariffs centered on a fundamental question in American government: who truly has the authority to impose tariffs that affect the nation's economy and its global relationships? Is it the president, acting swiftly in the name of national security, or is it Congress, the legislative body designed to represent the will of the people and safeguard the nation's purse strings? The U.S. Constitution is clear in granting Congress the power to levy taxes and regulate commerce with foreign nations. This authority was intended to prevent any single branch from wielding too much influence over the nation's economic fate. However, President Trump invoked the International Emergency Economic Powers Act, or IEEPA, a law passed in 1977 that allows the president to act decisively during times of national emergency, especially when foreign threats are involved. By declaring the ongoing trade deficit with certain countries a national emergency, Trump used the IEEPA as justification to impose sweeping tariffs, arguing that urgent action was needed to protect American industries and jobs. Critics, including economists and legal scholars, pushed back. They argued that a trade deficit, while economically significant, did not meet the IEEPA's strict criteria for an unusual and extraordinary threat to national security. Plaintiffs in the lawsuit contended that tariffs are essentially a form of taxation, and the Constitution clearly assigns the power to tax to Congress, not the executive branch. They warned that allowing the president to bypass Congress could set a dangerous precedent. The Supreme Court was asked to weigh in, knowing that its decision would not only resolve this immediate dispute, but also set a lasting precedent for how much power the president can wield in shaping trade policy without congressional approval. Ultimately, this case became a vivid illustration of the ongoing debate over the separation of powers in the U.S. government, a debate that continues to shape the balance between executive action and legislative oversight in American democracy. Supporters said Trump's tariffs protected American industries from unfair foreign competition, especially from China. They argued tariffs would create jobs and encourage investment in U.S. manufacturing. National security was another key point, reducing reliance on foreign goods in critical sectors like technology and pharmaceuticals. Proponents claimed tariffs led to billions in new investments and a stronger domestic economy. They believed short-term higher prices would be offset by long-term economic gains. Despite these arguments, opposition remained strong. The debate was about more than economics, it was about the government's role in trade. Critics argued Trump's tariffs raised prices for consumers, especially hurting low-income households. Businesses relying on imported materials faced higher costs, squeezed profits, and potential job losses. Some companies considered moving production abroad to avoid tariffs. Opponents warned of trade wars and global supply chain disruptions. Legal experts questioned using the IEEPA for tariffs, saying the trade deficit wasn't a true emergency. The challenge to the tariffs reflected deeper concerns about executive overreach. The controversy reignited debate over free trade versus protectionism. The Supreme Court overturned Trump's tariffs, ruling he exceeded his authority under the IEEPA. The court reaffirmed that Congress, not the president, controls commerce and taxation. This decision was a win for those challenging executive overreach and reinforced the separation of powers. The immediate effect tariffs were removed, lowering costs for consumers and businesses. The ruling set a precedent limiting presidential emergency powers in trade. However, it raised questions about how the U.S. would address trade deficits and protect industries going forward. The decision underscored the complexity of balancing protectionism and globalization. American trade policy faces new challenges in a changing world. The Supreme Court's decision had an immediate impact on global markets. Removing tariffs boosted stock prices, especially for manufacturers and retailers. The ruling eased fears of a trade war, increasing confidence in the global economy. The U.S. dollar strengthened as investors anticipated lower inflation and stronger growth. Foreign governments welcomed the move, seeing it as a step toward normalizing trade relations. Commodity prices shifted, steel and aluminum fell, while oil demand rose with economic optimism. The decision removed uncertainty, paving the way for a more stable trade environment, yet it highlighted the ongoing challenges of managing global trade. Experts say the Supreme Court's decision will reshape American trade policy. The ruling emphasizes congressional oversight and may prompt a shift toward multilateral trade solutions. The U.S. could engage more with international organizations to address trade imbalances. The decision raises questions about the future of protectionism and globalization. While removing tariffs may boost growth and lower inflation, deeper economic challenges remain. Policymakers must balance consumer, business, and national interests in future trade decisions. The ruling marks a turning point in how America approaches global trade.